On February 21st, 2025, I traveled to the Fitchburg Art Museum from Worcester to see an exhibit put on by the Aldrich Astronomical Society. The AAS is the longest amateur astronomy club in the United States, founded in 1932. I interviewed the president, Jim Zebrowski, about the history of the club, which today is located in Paxton, Massachusetts.
Aldrich Astronomical Society was invited here by the Fitchburg Art Museum to put on a display of astrophotography that a lot of our imagers, we have about 88 imagers that are participating in Aldrich Astronomical Society, are able to capture these wonderful images of the night sky like the Pleiades here. And it's really kind of gratifying to be able to share this with the public, and especially knowing this is school vacation week, we hopefully get a couple students in here and get them introduced to what's going on in the night sky and what they can observe and see in their own backyard. The Aldrich Astronomical Society was founded in 1932, named after Fred Davis Aldrich, a much beloved teacher in Worcester Academy. He basically taught there from 1890s through 1932. But his avocation was to go out and talk to people about enjoying the night sky and especially reaching out to youth. And he did that all through his life until his passing in 1932. And after that, all the people who appreciated him and backed him over the years said, hey, you know, we couldn't do better, but let's name an astronomy club after him. So that's where the name Aldrich Astronomical Society came from, naming it after this teacher, Fred Davis Aldrich.
What are we exhibiting here today?
The Aldrich Astronomical Society has a subgroup who do astrophotography. So a collection of folks who do astrophotography have brought together some of our best work to share with the community in Fitchburg at the Fitchburg Art Museum.
The Aldrich Astronomical Society put together a display table so we can introduce students and adults who come here to visit the Fitchburg Art Museum to the community gallery of images that we have for astrophotography. So we thought we'd set up a series of handouts here, both in Spanish and English, basically describing what's visible in the night sky on this end of the table. Handouts, plus describing who we are and what we represent, talking about the upcoming lunar eclipse, which happens on March 13th and 14th. We'd have some cards, which we put out here, kind of describing what our organization is all about. This is my favorite part, and most kids have a favorite part with this, is looking through this for 3D views of astronauts, spacecraft, and objects in the solar system, the 3D viewers. So that is on this side of the table, and as we move to the middle side of the table, one of the ways we can describe how those images were taken is by a simple telescope called a C-star. C-star is a combination of optical telescope, software-driven microprocessor with software that drives a camera that's embedded in that little box that you see there. And it can find objects in the night sky by operating off a GPS off your cell phone. It generates its own Wi-Fi signal, and basically, when you log in to your cell phone or tablet, so I set up stargazing, and basically you will see how the images come across. And you can see this little circle going around. It's taking 4-second images and stacking them one on top of another, so you create this beautiful image of the nearby stellar nursery, the Orion Nebula. And that's about 1,400 light years away. But it's stacking 4-second images on top of one another, so you get some more detailed images of what the nebulosity looks like. Over on this side, if there were a lot of younger kids, basically, their first introduction is to take a tour of the astrophotography exhibit and then come back here after they check off using this checklist here of what they were seeing and maybe coming up with what their names for these objects would be. They'd come by, and if they were interested, they could take a look to kind of refresh their memory about nebulas and galaxies and use this type of paper here to use the chalk to create their own personal nebulas, their own personal stellar nurseries, and their own galaxies here, and portray them themselves.
Around 2 p.m., a group of elementary-aged children arrived and was led through the gallery by another member of the AAS, Dr. Marcia Wilcox. Wilcox elaborated on the subjects in the photos and communicated the scientific concepts into terms the children could understand. Dr. Wilcox is a fine art photographer from Acton with a passion for astrophotography, which is the specific field of photographing celestial objects and other phenomena.
This is an image of the Tadpole Nebula, and it's in the constellation Auriga, which is just above Orion in the sky. And it's one that I made using my homemade 6-inch reflecting telescope and a digital DSLR, and with a filter to accentuate some of the different gases that you can see in this nebula.
How did you make your own telescope?
It's a reflecting telescope. So what you do is you're making a mirror, and you get a glass plank, which is flat, and you start grinding it so that there's a curved surface that you get to a parabola shape, and then you finally polish it so that there's no pits. It's very fine. And then with mine, I silver coated it. I coated it with some silver, and it was very reflective. Then I mounted it into a tube that I constructed, and added a focuser so that I could attach my camera. And then from there, we put it on a mount that allows us to track the stars so that they stay in one place over a long period of time so that we can gather as much light as possible. Some objects are very faint, so you need to do this for many, many hours. As an example, there's another photo just 2 down from here. The fellow spent over 40 hours collecting light. This one, I used about 10 hours of light total, using three-minute exposures and then combining them.
So where does that leave us? Why is it so important to take photographs of the night sky, let alone share them with a wider community? Dr. Wilcox put it best.
I'm excited about this exhibit because it brings people to a place where they can take a look at things that are in space, most of which you can't see with the naked eye. I'm excited to show people those objects, and there's some art in the science and science in the art. I enjoy bringing people through the wow, what is that? Wow, where is that? How did you do that? We talk about the telescopes. But the next question is, these things are so vast and so far away. For me and for others, it brings us to the sort of eternal questions of who am I? What am I doing in the universe? What's my place in the universe? Am I small and insignificant? Or am I privileged to be alive and see these things? So when we get past the art and the science to what does it mean to me, then I really feel like I've engaged with my audience.
Thank you.